everybody, let's do some watercoloring today with some of the Tim Holtz Distress Oxides on a really cute birthday card, and it's gonna be quick and easy. So the trick here is just kind of making things kind of blend in a little bit, and don't take it too seriously. We're not going to stay in the lines today. We're going to kind of go outside the lines a little bit and just have some fun and relax. I'm gonna set these colors over to the side. Here we go. And since we're going to do maybe a little bit of water in here to do the image in archival black, this is waterproof. And so if any water gets on this, it's not going to smear my black lines and keep it nice and crisp. And I am going to stamp it twice. Once so I get the image on this cardstock, and after we get done watercoloring it with the oxides, we're going to go back and stamp it again and emboss it. The embossing is kind of optional, but I think I'll just give it a little bit more raised detail. But this will kind of crisp up the lines again when we're done. So that's one reason we're going to use this Stamp Assist device, and we're going to watercolor right inside here. Now you'll notice that I have a sticky mat in here. I did get this at the Dollar Tree, but if you have a Cricut mat, you can cut down and put in here also. And this just helps keep your cardstock in place. And just for extra little security, I put a little masking tape at the ends, and I will be cutting the image out. So I'm not worried about the masking tape tear on the paper. So this works pretty good. So I'm going to put the stamp over on this side. It's going to stay there the whole time, and when we're done, we'll just stamp it again. All right, let me zoom in on this and get a little closer detail, and let's get to it. Set up your image here. You got this nice, cute stamp here, and the rough side is going to have an ink down. So I'm just going to find a position where I want this on the paper. Just put it right there in the middle, like that. The flower base looks nice and centered. That looks pretty good. And I also have a happy birthday sentiment. I'm going to see if I can squeeze on here somewhere. If not, I'll do it. You know what? I think I'll just do it separately and kind of have it on a raised backing. Kind of give it a little pop here. So what we're going to do is close the lid and press down firmly, and that puts this stamp right on this side, and this is where it's going to stay the whole time. Now I'm going to get this archival ink and stamp it here. There we go. And I'm just going to press down right on that cardstock. Looks good. Missed a couple of spots there, so I'm just going to re-stamp again. All right. Nice firm press. Looks good. Kind of an abstract picture, so I'm okay the way it looks. And plus we're going to stamp it again when we're done. So I'm going to put the lid back on this ink so it doesn't dry out. And set it over to the side. All right, I'm gonna let this sit for a minute and kind of let that dry, and then we'll start with the watercoloring. I have my inks kind of lined up here on the side. I have a little thing of some water here. If I want to splash a little water on here and mix around the colors, I'll put it up here out of the way. And I have brushes associated with each of my colors on the side here. Also to speed things up. So I'm going to start with the lightest color and kind of work my way to some of the darker colors. It's just the way I work. And so I'm going to start with yellows. It's Squeeze Lemonade. Very pretty yellow. Just put a little bit on my brush there. And I am just kind of putting the yellow kind of in the vase and in the top of the flowers there, I believe. So I'm just kind of mix this around. Not staying in the lines at all. And to get a little bit more detailed and deeper colors, I'm going to dip a little water in here, get in here, and go right on those little tops of the flowers. Yeah, let's put it right there. And this one I can probably shade a little bit. There we go. I'm going to put this one over to the side for now. And next I'm going to be using some of this Twisted Citron. And it is this pretty light green color. And I'm just going to also kind of put this in the vase, kind of down the middle, down the side, a little outside the lines, each side there. And I'm going to kind of put it up here around these leaf areas. I'm going to go in darker green to get a little bit more detailed. But now for a little bit more shading, a little dab of water again. And put right on our ink pad, and I'm just going to kind of shade the next level down here, just like that. And let's go on the bottom of these. A little bit more shading here. There we go. Alright, next we're going to go with this little darker green, Mowed Lawn. This is my go-to green for a lot of things here. And I'm not going to use the brush, the big blend-in brush on this one. I'm just going to use a small one and kind of dab it where the leaves are. Get a little water on here, move this around, and let's get a little bit more deeper color on the leaves. These are great for just doing a little bit of watercoloring, believe it or not. A lot of people didn't realize that you could use these inks this way, but a lot of fun. Okay, let's put a little green down in here. Okay, and maybe some of these berries. Put a little green here for the unripe ones. There we go. And a little on the base. Alright, I think good for that green. Put this one to the side, rinse my brush off. And next one I have here is this picked raspberry. I love this one. Now I'm going to be spritzing a little bit of picked raspberry to end with my Distress Spritz. This is really cool and sparkly stuff. And that is also a Tim Holtz Ranger product. And I have this in multiple colors. This is one of my favorites. And the other one that I really like is this fossilized amber. It's kind of a gold color, yellow gold. And you have to shake these up really good because a lot of the stuff settles at the bottom. And it's got like a little metal ball in there, so you can hear it like bouncing around. And you shake it till the bottom clears. And so I have those over to the side. I pre-shaked them a little bit before I started the video, but definitely will give them a shake again. Look at the color of this. Isn't that beautiful? All right. So got my little blending brush. Ink that up there, and I'm just going to kind of come around the side there a little bit, and a little on the bottom down here. Kind of blend that around a little bit, and I'm going to kind of like come around these flowers. And just kind of like smoke it around a little bit. And for a little extra fun detail, get that wet again. Get that in there, and just kind of more at the bottoms, a little darker. Give a little bit more dimension this way. A little streaky on this one. Little streaks in there. I like those streaks. Okay, good. Oh, we need a little pink on that one. Alright, good. Let's do a little pink on down here. Alright, let's finish up with our last color here. Rinse off my brush. Okay, this one here, another one of my favorites is Mermaid Lagoon. Very pretty blue. Look at that. Just love this color also. Let's ink up my brush here. And I'm going to kind of probably do like the bottom a little bit, kind of blend that in. And I like when this blue mixes with the yellow, it turns into a shade of green. Alright. It's looking really pretty. Dip a little water here. So it's nice having these 4 chambers of water. You know, I have my yellows, my pinks, and the last one for blue, so I'm not mixing colors on here too much. Okay, a little blue going on here. Now I want to do the berries in this blue color. Alright, that looks pretty there. Go a little bit more here. I think I just want to do a little shading on the side and around the twirly areas there. Oh, here's a leaf. Let's do these leaves in blue. Let's get a little dots in there and the top of these flowers. I like him this nice, keep it abstract kind of look. Yeah, a little bit more defined blue down here. A little wiggle down there at the bottom. And let's do a little wiggle on the sides here. Alright, I'm really liking this so far. Looks good. Rinse my brush off. Still have a little bit of ink left on here, so I'm just going to kind of like gently go around this blue area. Give a little bit of blue ghosting along the outsides. These flowers here. Alright, I think that looks pretty good. Wasn't that quick and easy? Nice little watercolor painting there. Yeah, okay, let me get these brushes out of the way. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to stamp it again with archival ink. Then I'm going to get my embossing ink. We'll emboss it, heat emboss it with some clear embossing powder. And then I'm going to spritz it with a spritz over on top. Alright, so let's go ahead and get that archival ink out again. I'm going to ink up this image over here. Nice firm press. Alright, okay, see how that kind of brings that line up to the surface again. Okay, let me set this over to the side. Alright, I have some Versamark. It's a good embossing ink just for clear, but you have some clear embossing powder for this, but you can use color powder if you want. But I really love this. It brings up whatever ink you use. So I used black ink before, so this will kind of bring the black ink up. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and ink up the stamp again. Really good. And I'm going to do this probably about 2 or 3 times and get a good nice layer of embossing stuff on here. Press it down in there. And this paper is a little bit porous, so I know this will absorb in here a little bit. But you do have some time. It won't dry too quick. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and remove this. And I don't know if you can see, kind of glistens there. That's from that embossing ink. Let's put this over to the side. And I just have like a plastic container that I pour some of the clear embossing in, and what I'm going to do is just kind of dip it in there and just kind of slide that right over the image. Knock it off. Slide that over again. Knock it off. And let's go maybe down the other direction. There we go. Let's knock that off again. Okay, I'm going to set that over to the side and put the lid on it because I don't want it to get blown around when I turn on the heat gun here. There we go. So I'm just going to hold this with like a little small tool here. That way my hands aren't really close to where the heat is going to be. So I have this small heat gun here. And I'm going to just turn it on, let it warm up about 30 seconds. Take a look at that. I don't know if you can see, let me get that slide a little closer to it. See a little shine on there from that embossing? That looks really cool. But it's hard to talk over that heat tool while I was doing this, but I keep it moving. You don't want to get your paper too hot, but you want to keep the paper warm enough that the embossing will heat up and melt. And once it forms this glossiness, it's good. It's good to go. And it dries pretty quick. So I can already touch this and it's good to go. See, nothing on my fingers there. Good to go. And it gives it a nice kind of professional look, which is really cool. Alright, always spritz over a piece of paper or in like a shoebox, some sort of box, because you don't want the spritz to go everywhere. A lot of times I will do it over a piece of white cardstock, and after this has got spritzed a couple of times, I can cut this down and kind of use it as backdrops in some of my other card projects. So I usually don't let this go to waste because it's got some really pretty speckles in here from previous spritzing. So I'm just kind of set it right there, and I'm going to go with a light colored one first, that fossilized amber. I shook it up pretty good. And give a little spritz. I kind of hold it back a little ways and give it a couple squirts. And always wipe off your nozzle when you're done. Oh, look at that spritz on there. That's just the gold. So let's add a little bit more color. It's got that gold splattered all right, just so pretty. And this is the Tim Holtz Distress Spritz Picked Raspberry. And lastly, I have this beautiful Tim Holtz Distress Spritz Peacock Feathers. This is a really pretty bluish teal color. To give it a couple of spritz here. There we go. Wipe that off. Alright, so I'm going to let this dry for a minute or so. We'll trim it down and put it on our card. That is so pretty. Alright, look how pretty this turned out. It's all dry, ready to go, and I trimmed it down so it will go inside of a frame on a A2 size card, which is 5.5 by 4.25. And so I'm going to put it on here, but I like to layer my cards, give it a little bit more oomph. So I got this cardstock at Hobby Lobby on the clearance section yesterday. That will go at the bottom frame. And I thought it needed to be broken up a little bit more, so I cut out some of this gold foil cardboard. Got this at Hobby Lobby last year. Huge sheet was only 99 cents. And I'm just going to put that there, and this will go on top. And then my little sentiment, I also stamped, embossed it, and sprinkled it with some of the Tim Holtz Spritz. And that turned out really cute too. Let me focus that for you there. Look at that. It's got the spritz on there, matches the card perfectly, and so that will go on there also. Okay, let me go ahead and zoom in on the card again, and I'm just going to go ahead and glue this together in the layers and put in a few little sparkles on the end, and we will call it done, and I can send it off to my aunt that's got a birthday at the end of the week. Focus that in, and that turned out so pretty. These Ranger Tim Holtz inks are just gorgeous, and you can do so many cool things with them. And the spritz just give that extra bit of shine. So definitely let me know what you think of this card, and tell me how you think it turned out with the technique I used, and if you're going to try the same thing. So this layering definitely gave it a lot more professional kind of finished look. And so I got the image layer, a gold frame, and then the cardstock frame, and then it's on top of the actual card itself. And here's the envelope that it will go into. The sentiment is raised up on some foam, and it's also on a gold frame. And so I think this, and then you see these little iridescent rhinestones I put on here. So I got those scattered kind of throughout the vase and the flower stems. Add a little extra glitz and sparkle to the card, and so I think it turned out great. And products again I used for this were the Ranger Tim Holtz Distress Oxides. Used 5 different colors here, and also I used 3 different spritz, also Ranger Tim Holtz, and turned out gorgeous. Okay, I'll catch you on the next one.